Astro Kids, and welcome back. This is your horoscope for Venus entering into Aquarius, and this will take place from February 21st through March 16th of 2021. So, this is an interesting combination. Venus is friends with Aquarius, so this is a great combination. However, Aquarius is quite the unique sign. Aquarius is being ruled by both Saturn and Rahu. And so we get two sides to Aquarius. Aquarius has this sort of dual nature to it, where Saturn is all about discipline, restriction, determination, ambition, career. This is a very serious, lawful type of planet. However, Rahu really doesn't care much for the law. Rahu is about desire, it's about getting to that destination, whether it is lawful or not. And so Rahu brings this very rebellious, unconventional type of nature to the sign of Aquarius. And so Aquarius is carrying both of these energies, which is giving us a very interesting type of sign altogether, where Aquarius is very much about unity, about peace, about doing the righteous good acts in the world. And so Aquarius is very much connected to charity, towards helping others, towards these bigger groups and organizations, and bringing everyone together in a space of unity. However, Aquarius also has a very rebellious and eccentric type of side to it, where it's okay with doing a good deed even if it means breaking a law or doing something that is sort of deemed as taboo or strange in a way. And so Aquarius gives a different flavor to Venus as we are moving ahead here. Now, as soon as Venus moves into the sign of Aquarius, it comes into a combustion. And so this is an interesting start of the transit, and Venus and the Sun will be conjunct throughout the entire transit. And so there will be several moments of this combustion happening. But this is a very interesting one, as the combustion always is going to take away those good qualities of the planet. So, as Venus is going through a combustion, this is a very difficult and interesting type of transit, as we can see some issues around greed, around pleasure, around comfort. And remember that this is an Aquarius where some of these needs for comfort, for joy, for pleasure can come from a place of being eccentric or different. And so this could lead to some very radical types of desires in life. For some of us, wanting to do things that are way outside of our nature. And so this is very, very interesting as we're shifting into this transit. And again, with all of these transits going on, this is a very interesting time as we're trying to rebuild everything and bring everything back into its proper alignment. And so we have a lot of Saturnian influences going on as the government is trying to rebuild, restructure itself, as we're trying to come to this place of the people. But interestingly enough, with all of this Capricorn and Aquarius activity that we are entering into, we do see Mars as an outsider, as it's hanging out alone in its sign of Aquarius. And even as it moves into Taurus, it will be way on the outskirts of the other planets. And so there is this little bit of conflict going on between the people and the government or the infrastructure at large, where there are people who are angry, who are upset, who are irritated, who are trying to strike back against society as a whole. And yet the power is really in the higher authority in the government and the leaders. And so this is a battle that is very frustrating, very irritating towards the people, as once again, the government or the system or the infrastructure at large are the ones prevailing with all of this Capricorn activity. And in a way, this is keeping everything in structure and order to try to prevent chaos from unleashing. And this is a huge part of this transit with Venus and Aquarius is for us all individually to try to keep our lower impulses under control. And so we're going to get into that when we move over here into these nakshatras that Venus will transit through. So, as many of you know, there are three nakshatras that Aquarius is connected to. The first one is the Dhanishta nakshatra, which is where we will see that Mercury retrograde. And that is influenced by Mars. And so in that nakshatra, it is all about marching to the beat of your own drums. And so the symbol there is the drums. And this is once again about a spiritual calling, about an enlightenment, a choice to step up to the calling, to move towards your purpose, your destiny, that discipline, that determination of Mars combined with the influence of Saturn. And so, as we're starting to come into this first nakshatra, again, this is going to be a combust Venus where there's a huge challenge around whether or not we're going to commit to our purpose in life. And again, huge theme that has been around this new moon that is coming up, and that is around that Mercury retrograde. So we have this whole cycle of lessons centered around whether or not we are going to take up the calling, whether or not we're going to evolve spiritually and to step into our purpose. And so if you are trying to lean on something externally or trying to do something in the shoes or the footsteps of someone else at this time, then this is going against what you are here to do. The energy overall right now is about stepping up to the calling, stepping up to your purpose, committing to your spiritual journey in life. And so this has to do with also being unique in who you are, standing in your own truth. And with Venus in that combustion, this really brings out the negative qualities here where there can be some rebellion, there can be some negative behaviors and lower vibrations coming out of this, where there is this defiance or this disobedience to not want to fall in line or to get things back in order. And so I think it's important to mention that there's a difference between standing in your truth and causing chaos in this wake. And so there is a lot here in terms of, are you able to keep those lower impulses at bay? Or are you going to take a path or a calling that is not appropriate at this time that can cause more devastation or harm to others along this journey? And especially, most of all, causing harm to yourself. Now, in that second nakshatra, we have the influence of the thousand petaled lotus, but we also have the influence of the thousand armies of demons. And so, again, there is this sort of battle going on between dark and light. And notice that that second nakshatra is being controlled by Rahu. And so, this really is a strong Aquarian influence within this second nakshatra, where there is this battle here between, are you doing what is right or are you doing what is wrong? Are you seeking out this higher calling in life, this higher purpose, right? Remember that Aquarius is about the future. It's about science. It's about healing. It's about helping the homeless, about doing charity, about spreading good in this world, right? Aquarius is the water bearer, pouring that water out for everyone to drink. So, this sharing, this unity, this universal vision of peace that is connected to Aquarius is a huge factor here. And there is this struggle here, especially with the Venus being so close to the sun, where are you going to spiritually evolve and awaken and stay disciplined and focused along your path to reach that spiritual calling, that evolution? Or are you going to fall prey to your lower desires, your lower influences? So, this is a huge part of this transit as we're moving forward. Now, as we get into the last nakshatra, Purva Bharata, which is this battle again against those lower, darker impulses. We have the two swords symbolizing this one, where this is a fight, this is a conflict, a battle to keep the lower nature at bay. And this is being influenced by Jupiter. And so there's this wisdom, this enlightenment again that comes out of this whole process of having the discipline, Mars, the discipline, the strength, the determination to strive ahead, Rahu, of overcoming those lower desires and impulses that keep us chained to the Maya, the illusion, the material world. And that last portion of taking us to enlightenment, which that last nakshatra is there at 20 degrees of Aquarius, taking us into Pisces. Remembering that Pisces is that subconscious, that dream world, that connection to the spiritual, the divine, right? So Pisces is at that place where it takes us out of this physical reality, and this is the purpose of this whole transit through Aquarius. Aquarius is that staircase that is leading us to that place of spiritual enlightenment. And so this is a huge moment. And you're going to see me say some of the same things that I mentioned before about this Mercury retrograde and this new moon that is coming up, that this is your time to stick to your routine, to stick to your purpose, your calling. This is taking you to a place of enlightenment, of realization. And especially as Venus comes close to the sun is shedding light on Venus, right? And what is Venus? Luxury, pleasure, beauty, comfort, security, family, connection. And so, as the sun is shining on Venus, this is showing us what we need for that comfort, that stability, that security. This is huge in terms of where we are all at in this place of unity, in this place of connection. And so, this really is a time, once again, where you want to overcome all of these lower patterns and behaviors that are keeping you from reaching your highest, greatest potential. So, this is a huge transit. And what we're going to do now is we will go through each of the signs and how this will affect you. And so, no extra aspects here. This is simply a connection between the sun and Venus as we're going through this entire transit. Now, there is one connection that we will talk about in a future video, which is the full moon, because the full moon will also be in a conjunction with this Venus Sun combo as we shift forward. So we are going to see that full moon in Leo there on March 13th, which is going to create this connection here. Now, there's also going to be a new moon as well that will come into contact with this on March 13th. And so we're having all of these connections between the moon, the sun, and Venus that are being strongly impacted by this spiritual journey, this awakening, this overcoming of our lower nature and our attachment to the human conditioning and finding that higher calling, that higher journey in life. This is what this Aquarius influence is all about. So, starting off with those of you who have Aries moon or Aries ascendant, this will be Venus transiting your 11th house. And so, this is a huge moment of really putting yourself out there, allowing others to help and support you at this time. And so, those of you who have Aries rising or Aries moon, many of you very headstrong, very determined, that warrior like nature. But this is actually a time where you want to lean on others. You want to seek out support. You want to be in this space of unity, of togetherness. And so, if you are finding yourself in conflicts and challenges and obstacles, this is a time to put down your weapons and to really sit with things and discuss and work out the difficulties that come up to the surface at this point. This is really a time where you want to be expressive, you want to be connected, you want to share that love, that joy, that connection. And so this is a huge moment, again, to watch out for anger, for frustration, for harsh words, for negativity that could arise, especially with Mars in Aries. And even as Mars shifts over to Taurus, this is something that you want to continue to be cautious of moving forward is once again these harsh words, these angry outbursts and frustrations and conflicts. Because even as Mars shifts into Taurus, it will shift into your second house of speech, of family. And so you really want to be cautious with those closest to you, that you are not getting involved into a lot of arguments, a lot of conflicts, a lot of difficulties. This is your time to overcome these difficulties and conflicts that have to do with your lower nature. Again, all of this is going to be coming to the surface to help us overcome our challenges and obstacles. Because remember that Rahu, which has influence over Aquarius, is a shadow planet. It is here to help us face the shadow aspects of life. So let's go ahead and move forward to those of you with a Taurus moon or Taurus ascendant. If you have a Taurus moon or Taurus ascendant, this will be Venus transiting your 10th house. So that 10th house is dealing with career, status, authority, achievement. And so this is really a time of really not abusing the authority and power that you have over others. And so, especially for those of you who are in leadership roles, for those of you who are business executives, even if you are owning your own business and you're working with clients, you want to be cautious of how you are interacting with others. This can really bring out, again, because this is a combust Venus, this can really bring out some harsh and negative conflicts, disagreements, frustration, especially with Venus being that planet of relationships where you can get tired, you can get frustrated, you can get agitated in some of these connections. And so you really want to be cautious how you are presenting yourself to the public. Are you putting others down? Are you letting others drain you? This is a time to find that place of peace and negotiation that can really help you through this moment. So let's go ahead and move on to those of you with a Gemini moon or Gemini ascendant. So, those who have a Gemini moon or Gemini ascendant, this is Venus transiting through your ninth house. And so, especially for you, this is a time of spiritual growth and enlightenment. And for some of you, again, similar to this new moon and this Mercury retrograde that is going on, you may be discovering new information, deeper, more philosophical information. Because now we're seeing that eighth house and that ninth house that is lit up, where many of you are going through deep spiritual transformation. You are receiving hidden messages, you are receiving higher knowledge, wisdom, enlightenment. So, this is a time of being well informed, of receiving greater wisdom and insight into your life on all the areas that need to be worked through. And this is where you can see some conflict arise as well, because this is a combust Venus aspecting, making the full aspect over to your third house. The third house of courage, of siblings, of competition. And so this is where you can see some challenges around your siblings, around those closest to you, where some will challenge your beliefs, some will deny your thoughts and your insight that you want to share. And so this is a time where you want to be very cautious of how you are expressing yourself. Similar to what I said with Aries, where you want to be careful that you are not getting into a lot of unnecessary drama, a lot of disagreements and conflicts that are unnecessary at this time. Because there's a lot here where other people can trigger this in you, where they are just not at a place to hear your beliefs, your ideas, your vision. And so for some of you, you have to accept where others are at. And this will be a learning experience, again, as Rahu is controlling Aquarius. And so, especially as we get into the second nakshatra, 6 degrees 40 minutes to 20 degrees of Venus in Aquarius, you are going to see some very extreme shadow aspects, shadow lessons that come up around your beliefs, your thoughts, your ideas, your communication. So let's go ahead and move on to those of you with Cancer ascendant or Cancer moon. So for those who have a Cancer ascendant or Cancer moon, this will be a combust Venus in your eighth house. Very challenging position. So, this is a time of difficulties that you can see around your income, your wealth, your finances. You want to make sure that you are paying attention to all of the details. Because what we can see here is some difficulties and conflicts, some ups and downs that you can see. And especially as this is Venus, the planet of luxury that is in full aspect with your second house. And so you want to make sure that you're looking over all the details, that you're planning things correctly. If you have joint finances where you're working with others, you're working in a team, you want to make sure that everything is in order, because this is where you can see some conflicts and difficulties arise. You can also receive some conflicts around your own personal wealth and your own security, even around your family. And so this is an area where you want to be cautious of all of these things. You can even see some health related challenges as this is making that full aspect again to your second house, which is all about your food intake. And so you want to be careful that you are not taking in nutrients and things from your environment that don't serve you. This is where you can see ups and downs and struggles and challenges come up within your life. And even with the eighth house being the house of surgery, you want to be careful of anything that could take you to a place where you end up in the hospital, where you end up with health complications. And so, again, you want to make sure you're paying attention to all the details, facing all of the difficulties, the challenges that come up at this time, especially with Mars transiting over that 10th house and soon to enter into your 11th house, where you can see some challenges around your work life, around your income, all of these things where you want to double check and make sure that everything is right. Rahu is coming in with a shadow lesson here, and Rahu can bless you with a lot of great results, but if you're missing the details, Rahu can take all of that back from you. So, very important that you are managing everything correctly at this time. So, let's go ahead and move on to those of you with a Leo ascendant or Leo moon. If you have a Leo ascendant or Leo moon, this is happening in your seventh house. So, similar to those of you with Cancer ascendant or Cancer moon, you can see some issues around your finances, but you can also primarily see some issues within your relationships, within your business partnerships, within your legal agreements, within your health overall. This can be a time of dealing with stressors, with dealing with annoyances around others. And so, this is a time where you want to pay attention to the bigger picture of what you're trying to achieve. With Mars sitting up in your ninth house, this is a huge time where many of you have these big projects, these big achievements, these big deadlines that you are trying to fulfill. And so, paying attention to all these things and not allowing meaningless external problems or conflicts to provoke you in any way at this time is highly important. This is a time where you want to make sure that your ego is not getting in the way of what you can have as far as a happy, healthy, successful life. Because Mars in your ninth house is giving you tremendous results as you are pushing forward towards what you want to achieve in life. Now, let's go ahead and move on to those of you with a Virgo moon or Virgo ascendant. So, for those of you with a Virgo moon or Virgo ascendant, this is a time where you want to be careful with your health. This is a combust Venus taking place in your sixth house. So, making that full aspect over to your 12th house. And we do also have Mars in your eighth house until it shifts over into your ninth. And so, this is a very important time to pay very close attention to your health. With Mars in your eighth house and with this combust Venus in your sixth house, we can see some serious health complications arise. And so you want to be very, very cautious of this. This is a time to make sure that everything is in order, that you are taking care of yourself, that you're not burning yourself out, that you're taking those needed rests for yourself, because this is where you can see a lot of difficulties around your overall health and physical condition as a whole. So let's go ahead and move on to those of you who have Libra ascendant or Libra moon. So, for those of you with a Libra ascendant or Libra moon, this is a combust Venus in your fifth house. And so, this one can actually be very positive for you, as this is giving you a lot of creative potential, a lot of energy to express yourself. But this is also a time where you can see some conflicts and difficulties around wanting to express yourself, around wanting to put yourself out there. And you can see some childish drama arise within your relationships, within your connections, especially with friends, with children, with romantic partners, anything around those particular relationships, you can see a lot of conflict and difficulty. And this can become an issue of verbal conflict, especially as Mars is sitting there in your seventh house and getting ready to enter your eighth house, where there can be a lot of arguments and disagreements around your close relationships and connections. And so, again, similar to Aries, you want to be cautious of how you are expressing yourself. Are you putting out a lot of sarcasm, a lot of negativity? Are you getting involved in a lot of unnecessary drama? These are things that you want to ask yourself at this time because this can severely affect your reputation and how you're seen as a whole. So let's go ahead and move on to those of you with a Scorpio ascendant or Scorpio moon. So for those with a Scorpio ascendant or Scorpio moon, we have a combust Venus in your fourth house. So this is not the greatest time for getting a new property, right? This is not a great time for deals and negotiations with this transiting your fourth house. You want to be cautious of any sort of deals or contracts that you're making. This is also a time where you can see conflicts with your mother, you can see conflicts within the home. And so you want to be very cautious of this. This is where some heated arguments within your home, within your place of peace, can arise. And so you can see a lot of chaos and conflict happening within your home life. So you want to be very humble at this time. You want to be very understanding at this time and making sure that you are not overpowering or overstepping anyone and that no one else is doing the same to you. This is a time to establish healthy boundaries, especially with Mars transiting your sixth house and getting ready to enter into your seventh house. This is a time to establish those healthy boundaries, to work out conflicts and difficulties. And many of you will be put in situations where you have to work out conflicts and difficulties. And so, if you own a home or if you are planning to buy a home, you may see some legal conflicts arise where you have to face some sort of opponent at this time. But with Mars transiting your sixth house, this gives you the power to win over those conflicts. Just realize that all of these difficulties and challenges that can arise in your life are here to help you. They're here to empower you. And especially with this huge stellium going on in your third house, you are gaining strength. You're gaining confidence, courage to stand up. And so there is something big here for those of you with a Scorpio ascendant or moon where you're transforming, you're stepping into your power. So let's go ahead and move on to those of you with a Sagittarius ascendant or Sagittarius moon. So for those with a Sagittarius ascendant or Sagittarius moon, this is going to be a combust Venus transiting through your third house. And so at this time, contracts are a no, and you want to work out any disagreements within your connections, especially with siblings, with those closest to you, relatives. So this is a time to make sure, again, just like those of you with an Aries ascendant or a Libra ascendant, that your communication is not harsh, right? And this is something big for those of you with a Sagittarius ascendant or Sagittarius moon, where your speech can be very straightforward and honest. So we want to be careful here that you are being understanding of others, that you're not coming in and putting others down with your speech, getting into unnecessary drama and arguments and conflicts, especially with a combust Venus. This can create situations where you're tired and fed up with any sort of conflicts and difficulties. So you want to make sure that you're handling this in a healthy way. So let's go ahead and move on. And before I move on, I also want to add that for those of you with Sagittarius ascendant or Sagittarius moon, make sure that you are respecting your elders. That is a huge thing with this combust Venus as well. And with Mars, that is sitting there in your fifth house, you want to make sure that you are respecting your elders, respecting those who can give you knowledge and insight and wisdom, because they're on your side at this point as you're going through any sort of conflicts and challenges. You can seek out counsel at this time, and those who are there as your authority figure, your elder, your guru, your counselor are there to help you. And so you want to make sure that you're not running into conflicts and disagreements with those that are there to help counsel you. So let's go ahead and move into Capricorn. So for those of you with a Capricorn moon or Capricorn ascendant, this will be a combust Venus transiting your second house. And so with a combust Venus in your second house, this is again similar to Sagittarius, a time to watch out for your speech because you can run into some conflicts and difficulties within your relationships where your speech can cause arguments and unnecessary drama. And so you may have to face some conflicts within your family life, within your close relationships. And it's very important that you are not coming in headstrong without coming from a point of trying to understand or come to a place of negotiation. This is highly important at this time. This is also a time for those of you with a Capricorn ascendant or Capricorn moon where there may be some difficulties around your wealth, your finance. And so this is really a time of making sure that everything in that particular area is in check, in order. And yes, for many of you with a Capricorn ascendant, you're going through many, many conflicts within your life. With this huge Capricorn stellium, there's so much room for you to grow. We also have Mars, of course, that is transiting your fourth house and getting ready to come into your fifth. And so this is a huge time, again, to deal with any conflicts around those closest to you and to make sure that everything in your life is in order, to have that strong foundation, to have that sense of inner peace within yourself. And so working out any sort of conflicts can avoid unnecessary drama and frustrations at this time. Let's go ahead and shift into the sign of Aquarius. And this is a combust Venus in your first house. Very interesting. For those of you with an Aquarius moon or ascendant, you may be having some insecurities. And so there may be some frustrations around your appearance, around your whole demeanor of how you're being perceived at this point. And so you want to make sure that what you're perceiving does not affect you. And so this is a point where this combust Venus is making aspects to that seventh house, of relationships. And so you want to make sure that you are not taking on what others are projecting, or that you are not creating a self-fulfilling prophecy around what you think others think of you. This is a time to really stand by your strength, your determination, and really believing in yourself. This is huge, especially as Mars is in your third house, getting ready to move into your fourth house. Having that confidence, that willpower, that strength within yourself. And yes, this is difficult with a stellium back in your 12th house where there's so much going on subconsciously. And so for many of you, you're dealing with fears, you're dealing with insecurities, you're dealing with internal conflicts, especially as we have K2 in your 10th house. There's a lot that is going on around your overall public image, where you're transforming, you are making all of these internal changes that are shifting and making this whole persona different. And for many of you here with Aquarius ascendant or Aquarius moon, there's some of you wanting to withdraw at this point. And so this is really a time of, again, not allowing anything externally to affect you, not allowing anything externally to push you back into a place of hiding or a place of exile. You want to really stand in your truth, to stand in your courage or confidence, because there's so much that is happening for you at a subconscious level where you are transforming, you are becoming so much greater in who you are. Now let's go ahead and move to our last sign here, which is Pisces. So for those of you with a Pisces moon or ascendant, this will be a combust Venus in your 12th house. And so out of all of the signs, this one is happening more so at a subconscious level. Where for many of you, you can have health problems and complications, daily struggles, and confusions happening within your personal life. And this is coming from what is going on with you subconsciously. And so, my biggest advice for those of you with a Pisces moon or ascendant is to do internal work, to sit with yourself, and especially with K2 in your ninth house, this is a huge spiritual time for you. Really taking the time to sit with yourself, for some of you connecting to those closest to you with Mars that is transiting that second house, getting ready for the third house. Some of you need to connect to someone closest to you for the guidance or advice that you're seeking, to a guru, a counselor, to a family member. But ultimately, this is a time to disconnect. This is a time to sit with yourself and to do internal work. And again, seeking out any counsel that you might need at this time. But really, similar to Sagittarius, the other sign ruled by Jupiter, this is a very spiritual time for you. So you really want to take that time to meditate, to reflect, to go inward, to really sit with your internal lessons that need to be worked through. So that was my horoscope for Venus in Aquarius, taking place on February 16th. I'm sorry, February 21st through March 16th of 2021. So this is a huge transit that we are getting ready to enter into with the Sun and Venus together. If you have not checked out that video on the full moon that is coming up in the sign of Cancer, make sure to check that out. That is happening very shortly now, along with the Mercury retrograde that we will see on the 31st. So that full moon and that retrograde is coming up here towards the end of January. Also, if you have not looked at the new moon video for the new moon in February, make sure to check that out. That is a very important new moon that is all about this spiritual growth, this progress, this forward movement. That is the whole theme of where we are at in 2021, along with this upcoming Venus transit. And if you would like to know more about the moon and how it can affect you based on the phases and positions that it is in your chart, feel free to check out my moon video as well. So I will leave all of that down below in the description. You will see some cards overhead, and I will see you all in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you are new to this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new content. And I wish you all a great day, and I will see you in the next video.